if you're saying your admin is struggling right now, here's a gut check. Have you actually set them up for success? Do they have clear expectations? Do they have SOPs? Are you even talking to them regularly? Or did you just throw them into the chaos and expect magic? They're not mind readers. Here's the hard truth. If you're overwhelmed, they're overwhelmed. But that's not just an ops issue, that's a leadership issue. So let's talk about it. All right, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Lauren Holland, Director of Team Operations at Reside, and today I'm joined by the brilliant Mia. Hi, Mia.
Hi.
Reside Director of Team Production. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most misunderstood dynamics in real estate, and that is the relationship between leaders and their admin. And if you've ever said, my admin just doesn't get it, then this episode's for you.
Yeah, this is one for the leaders and for the ops professionals, I would say, because oftentimes clarity, systems, ownership, it's a two-way street. It's not just, you're in lane, you're in your lane, you're in this lane. So let's break down the myths and start building what actually works.
Awesome. So the first thing I really want to get into is people are with you for a season, reason, or a lifetime.
Yeah.
We've heard Chef Black talk about that a lot, right, Mia?
Mm-hmm.
To me, that means not not everyone's going to be your admin forever. Some people are in your world for a reason, and that doesn't make it a failure. It just makes it part of the journey.
It's hard because you can want something more for someone than they want it. You can't. Can we do that segment one again?
I didn't even mean to drink that water.
Because also you meant to say season, not reason.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay.
Segment
so
one.
I'm going to just start that over. All right. So let's jump into it. Mia, a lot of the time we hear John Sheplack say people are with you for a season, reason, or a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that means not everyone is going to be your admin forever. Some people have admins for a life cycle of their entire career. And if you do, that's a rarity and you're really lucky you have that unicorn.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are with you for a couple of years because you might have provided growth opportunities, you might have not. People are with you for whatever reason, a season, and that doesn't make it a failure. It just makes it part of the journey.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of saying that you can't want something more for someone than they want it for themselves. And really the most powerful thing that you can do is build a system and then let them rise to it. And I think that's like a pretty big topic to unpack on what should that system look like and how do I even prep for that role?
Yeah. So for my admin that are listening to this, because we're a platform that is for team leaders, administrators, integrators, whatever you want to call yourself, those force multipliers, and the agents as well. So for my admin that are on the call listening, you might be leading from the front with your founder, your team leader, your CEO. My biggest advice, if you're feeling in a rut right now, you prep for the role you want, not for the one that you're in. So this is not actually your team leader coming to you and saying, hey, here are my expectations for you. That's part of the conversation, but it's also step up if you want it. Start taking ownership of the role you truly want and do some research on it. Read a lot of books, listen to these podcasts, develop yourself.
Mm-hmm. When I'm coaching team owners and we go through a conversation about an admin, if we start noticing that operations is giving the job back, it's a red flag for me that okay, this is maybe not the right person for this seat on the bus. And we do have to examine, did you set clear expectations? So as the team owner, is your operations staff, your admin, your executive assistant, whomever is going to be your force multiplier, are they actually clear on what your expectations are? For me as a leader, I know one of the things I've struggled with a lot in the past, and I've gotten very fortunate with some really great hires, but one of my struggles in the past was getting everything that was in my brain out of my mouth. Like it would be stuck in my brain and it would be frustrating that this person couldn't read my mind. And I would say Brooke and I worked together forever. And she was my ops manager for several years. She got really close to reading my mind. I could rattle off some gibberish and she would be able to put it together. But that's a unicorn. Like Brooke is a talented unicorn. So if you as the team owner have an outlined success for your admin, I really don't know how you expect them to hit it. So when we said earlier, two-way street, expectations do have to be put out there in order for them to know how to meet them.
Yeah, and being in the role, so I'll come from the spot of the operations person, and I've worked with some really incredible leaders, and I do to this day. And you need to have some synergy between the two of you, and communication is how you win. So if you're somebody that, going back to the mind reader, like if you're expecting the admin to just know what to do, to read your mind, to know your internal processes on the week that you hire them, you got to spend a little bit of time with them
Yeah.
first, you know?
Yeah, I like to compare it to like an arrow, how you're going to pull it back before it shoots forward. Like there is a time period, and this might take us a little bit off topic today, but you might have a bad hire or two before you find that synergy. And I think that's where I see a lot of team owners, they get that wound is still open for them, or they get shy around making another hire, and then they'll just take on the role themselves because they don't want to be burned again. Sometimes that's also a part of your process of like, I'm going to go through maybe one or two, maybe three bad hires before I get it right. And you do have to slow down long enough to find somebody to create an opportunity for that somebody, for them to actually be able to execute on their job competently.
You're investing in that person too. Like this person's an investment. It's not just oh, I'm going to save so much money by hiring an entry level person, and then you get not burned, but then your expectations for that person aren't as high as hiring someone that could have been a little bit more qualified for the role.
Yeah.
A lot of the time we look at the salary and say, oh, they're too expensive. But in their long run, it's an investment. You know,
Yeah.
you're going to invest your time into that person, your money, your resources. They're going to they should be leading from the front with you. And what I mean by that is holding your agents accountable, caring. Not everyone's going to care about your business because it's your business as much as you will, but you can get pretty dang close. I care a lot. I want to see our platform grow. So I am very invested. I don't think that's necessarily a unicorn trait either.
No, not at all. And Nick McLean says this: when you invest in the right hire, you get 3 jobs out of that person. You get like 3 times the return when you hire the right person. And that's tough because I work with a lot of team owners and even solo agents in the past who want to make a hire, and you also can't look at it like, okay, this is a $40, $50, $60,000 hire. I actually need a runway for 3 to 6 months, and then I can, that's really the investment up. And the right hire, the person that is going to be able to build out your systems, is going to have a competency around that. And so, putting a little bit extra money into that investment, I think has a return that is worthwhile. And it's not a $60,000 investment upfront.
Okay. And I know a lot of people are thinking, okay, if you're new to building a real estate team or you're a solo agent, you're like, okay, where do I start? And you mentioned a really good point before. And I just had this conversation with another team leader before sometime this week saying, oh, I've been burned by an admin in the past. However, I need support. I need more support. However, I don't want to hire stateside. I just want to hire virtual assistants because the stateside one didn't work for me. So if we're really talking about the scope of your business and who you need to hire, I always recommend start making your not to-do list. What does not bring you energy and what brings you down? So likely, not the stereotype, but you're in the agent role. Your wheelhouse is most likely getting in front of people, having those conversations, building the relationships, doing the life cycle of the sale. You might, because Mia, you have a unique personality. I'll say you like doing that, and then you're really amazing with systems. So like you have best of both worlds. Not a lot of team leaders have that. Would you say?
Nor should we be playing in both roles. Like there's stuff that I want to play with where it's like, no, that's not actually your lead measure. Like that's not your 20%. That's where you're like, I'm a freak of nature who likes to play with the spreadsheet, but that's not actually what drives the needle forward in my role.
And it's a distraction for a lot of people.
Yeah. It's like it's a hobby, really.
Yourselves, oh, we're perfectionists, or I'm a recovering perfectionist. It's no, you're getting distracted from your one thing, and that's probably where we can go to next is what is your 20%? So that 80-20 rule, so that Gary Keller talks a lot about this. He wrote the book, The One Thing. What's your 20%? The one thing that if you don't do it today, your business didn't move forward. That's how you know you won the day. So for agents, that is lead generation, you know? What would you say?
I would say for obviously for agents, it's lead gen, lead follow-up, go on appointments, role play, add to the database. Leaders, it's recruiting calls, inspect the database, and lead generate with the agents. For admins, it's maybe processing a pending file, updating the pipeline. It's going to be different for everyone, but you better know what yours is. And I think getting clarity on that is actually the first gap where a lot of leaders and operators don't know how to move forward because they just actually don't have clarity on what their one thing should be. And because there is, I would say there's nuance. I'm not going to call it uniqueness because it's rarely so unique that we have to get creative. But I will say it's probably there's nuance to what maybe your admin might be supporting or not supporting. And I do want to circle back to the VA conversation on that too, on like whether or not you should hire a virtual assistant or someone stateside. You know, from working with me for years, I have a VA team that has been with me for 4 or 5 years now, and they're incredible. Like my business would never have gone where it went if it weren't for them. We would not be as efficient as we are here inside of Reside if it weren't for them. Like in the agent training role, they're phenomenal. And there's only so much that can be done not in person. I'm a big fan. If I'm really going to invest in that leverage and I really want to see scale happen, that I do have someone that is in person that can do those day-to-day things with me. A lot can be done virtually. This is my personal opinion, Lauren. You might have a different take on it, a hot take on it, but let me know. When we have team owners that have 3, 4, 5 agents and they're also in production and they're positioned for scale and their goal is to get to 25 agents, I'm like, your first hire needs to be an assistant. Like you need someone that is actually going to help you scale. And I always recommend that they have a download every day, starting like 10-minute download in the morning. And I might be skipping ahead here, but a 10-minute download in the morning where it's like, and I have them review the numbers. I can't tell you how many times I get on a team call. They don't know how many pendings they have on the board from this month. They don't know how many closings they have for this month. They don't know how many recruits are coming. And so like your admin can support you there. Here's how many pendings are up from the team, including yours. Here's how many closings we have for the month. Here's what we're projecting for the next month. Let's look at your calendar. Okay, cool. You're lead generating with the agents. I'll send out a reminder. Like there can be instant synergy in 10 minutes a day before you guys get started.
It is so good. And I have so many coaching calls as you do during the week. And my focus is with the integrators, the admin leading. I keep saying leading from the front with you because I really want to drill that down. Your admin shouldn't be in the background with you. You should be positioning them to be in the front with you, including your transaction coordinators, third party or not. Your agents should know their name. It's a respect thing too. The more respect you have for each other and the value you provide to each other on the team, the more synergy and the better the client experience for everyone is going to be. And I always say your agents for team leaders and administrators, your agents are your clients as well, not just the buyers or sellers. So why did they join the team? And Mia, you highlighted something really well in terms of the reporting and the 10-minute download. If we're talking about a structure of Monday through Friday, how I always won with my team leader, or even how I win right now with my leaders at Reside, is have dedicated time at least one day a week that is non-negotiable where you are talking to each other about what went well this week, what are our top priorities. It doesn't have to be everything, but what are our top 3 tasks right now? And what has the progress been made? So I learned this from Adam Bergenrother and Hallie Warner in the founder in the Force Multiplier. If you haven't read that book, I highly, highly recommend doing it because it's about the relationship of that team leader and that Force Multiplier. So any of that scope of the integrator role, and how they always won. They were in partnership together for 12 plus years. Is
15.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love Hallie. Hallie is one of my...
Yeah, she's one of my besties.
They had a non-negotiable Monday meeting at 9 or 9:30 for an hour, and then they went about their week. They had clear expectations on what needed to get done. They had alignment, and then Hallie talks a lot about the scale of 1 to 10 as an admin. So the founder, that visionary, comes with the idea, the 1 and the 2, and then you as that integrator take that, because this is your role, this is your lane, what you're really good at. From a 2 to an 8, you did the bulk of the work, and then you bring it back. You're not giving the job back. If you have questions, yes, but I would say do your research. AI now is an amazing, go ask GPT. Don't ask Google. Google is AI now too, but you know what I mean? Use MindPal, use ChatGPT, go create the structure with your own mind and then find the better answer. Just there's so much out there now so that you can be successful. You just have to learn how to use the tools. So you bring that back to the founder instead of giving the job back and turning around if you're in the same office and bugging them all day, because they have a job to do too.
Yeah, I think a good way to put that, Lauren, is bring a solution and then let them help you work through a solution if it's not the right solution. So like instead of bringing like a question like, how do I do this? You would say, hey, I did this. This is the solution I found. Can you give me feedback on that? And then it's like, oh, try it this way instead, or hey, do it this way instead. And so, you're supposed to take that off of their plate. And I do think, again, like there's caveat to that. Like if it's your first day on the job, I think it's okay to ask, like, where's this file at? Like,
there's 90 days, 6 months. Yeah, you're getting indoctrinated.
Yeah,
however,
really
you're in, like, don't give the job back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think another thing that's important is just in that daily download. We meet with our team 4 days a week. We have a Monday, like that's our longest meeting of the week. That's where we get to go into the details and the nitty gritty. And I think we're down to like 35 to 45 minutes with our team now with that. It used to be an hour, but like we're really efficient with each other now. We skip Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's 15 minutes. Each department is chiming in what their main focus is. But I think this is like a really powerful thing for 2 reasons. One, because it keeps everyone in the know. But also, 2, because for me personally, as someone who enjoys being led, I can't speak for you, but I imagine it's similar. I like knowing that they're paying attention to what I'm doing. It gives me purpose and meaning. And so when the people that are leading me are following up on what I'm doing or checking in on what I'm doing, or like, hey, I saw that, like that helps me stay on top of things when I have everything everywhere. But also every single one of us, you, myself, Brittany, Kurt, we are all like drivers, like we're self-sufficient drivers. We have our own list. We're the ones that are like moving the needle forward. And if Sunit and Nick and John and Preston didn't give us that trust, it would be really hard for us to feel good about what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is such a good conversation because we're coming from the employee piece of it, not we're the team leader, we're leading these people. It's the perspective of what really works for us, which I think you need that, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm having a pregnancy brain.
Partnership, supervision.
What's the word I'm looking for? You need that, it's not acknowledgement, advocate. You need to advocate. Advocacy, thank you.
There it is.
Thank you.
Pregnancy brain is a thing, okay?
Oh gosh, yeah. We can have a whole podcast about that too.
Yeah.
Like advocating for the employee administrator 1099, that's the support role, I think is really good, of like being heard and knowing that your leader cares about what you're doing and giving you good feedback. You know, a lot of times I'll talk to an admin and they say, my leader won't give me feedback, or they'll give me feedback like after it's already been done, but not give you specifics, just tell you that was wrong, but not help you make it better.
And I don't know anyone more busy than John, Nick, Sunit, or Preston, and they give me feedback. In fact, they have multiple 7-figure businesses, each of them. My first week of working with Reside, Nick went back and watched my recordings of my trainings. No one's ever done that. He went back and watched the recordings of the trainings I did, and he gave me feedback on, like, don't tell me you're too busy. Don't tell me you don't have the time. You have to prioritize it because it's that important. That empowerment that they offer when you're giving someone feedback is what makes them sticky to you. That's where the loyalty comes in from, and will come from. That is where their dedication and drive will come from, is that they feel like they're a part of it with you and you're actually paying attention to what they're doing.
Yes. And to continue the conversation in terms of it's leadership, it really is. And a lot of the times I hear, well, I don't have time for this. Yes, you do. John talked about this about a month ago on a weekly leadership call with all of our team leaders. And he said, it's not time management. He wanted to debunk that theory. It's actually time choice. Where are you choosing to spend your time?
Yep.
So that's really what I mean by what's your 20%? What's the one thing you have to get done every single day such that if you don't, you're not moving your business forward and you're spinning your wheels. And then that's when the quote burnout comes from, because insanity is the definition of doing something again and again and expecting a different result.
Yeah. And I think it's important to mention, like, here's the how. So if you are the type of person who feels like I don't have the time and you're in the time management narrative instead of the time choice narrative, oftentimes what I see is happening with team owners is you're reacting constantly. You're constantly reacting to your business, to your life, to everything. And you get pulled in every direction. That is a boundaries issue. That is a lack of boundaries. And those have to start internally. So I'm not talking about how you hold the world accountable to their boundaries. How do you hold yourself accountable to your boundaries? Like the gotta minutes. One of my favorite simple solves for the gotta minutes, or I've got to do this thing right now, or I've got to handle this thing right now, instead is yes, and here's when, yes, and here's how, yes, and here's who. When you have a problem saying no and you love to say yes, reframe the yes. Yes, I can do that right after lead generation. Yes, I can get to this thing at this time, or here's how that would happen, or here's who would do it. And so you can start not only to delegate, but to hold boundaries internally, because it doesn't all have to be on your plate. And if it is all on your plate, I would ask you to go get clear on what exactly has to be there.
Yeah. And then that's when we start talking about what systems do you need in place. So what lead sources, what lead generation, and that leads me into the next segment of it is writing it down. I've been on many calls in the last couple of weeks that, going back to what you said, how many pendings are you carrying right now? How many closings year to date are you at? So, because we're testing the health of their business. And they're like, okay, hold on, let me go count. And I'm like, what do you mean you got to go count? Like, where's the dashboard that you can quickly just tell me you have 10 pendings, 5 of them are buyers, 5 of them are sellers. We've closed X amount. So what I would say is write everything down. It's not a lot of the things that I say, people look at me, they're like, yeah, but that's so simple. I like to keep it simple. What's it called? Simple, stupid, simple, whatever.
Stupid, simple. Yeah.
It doesn't need to be this rocket science that we do. I think knowing what you need to do every single day. So for the agents, it's making your 3 hours of calls until you, or 100 calls a day. Is that our metric?
Yeah, I like to see 100 dials or 4 to 7 2-minute conversations.
You know your weekly goals, 35 meaningful conversations a week, which is 2+ minute conversations. Your mets and sets for the week. And for admins, it's your 20% is the client experience. So for your agents and then the buyers and sellers, so that we can get reviews and referrals. If you're not getting a repeat business and you're not getting rave reviews, then we need to switch up the system and how we're operating. So I'll just say, write everything down. And people look at me like I have 10 heads, and I say, do it, because we're not human nature. We can't retain and remember everything. Like,
yeah, it's a think tank, not a holding tank, our brains.
Yeah, you can have a brain dump and whatnot. However, if you're not documenting your SOPs and your processes, you're actually losing, because you will miss a step. It doesn't matter if you do this every single day, you will miss a step. Something happens and then you go back. Did I do it? Did I not? If you're not running off a checklist, you got to
This has never been easier. Like, this is what I'm telling team owners right now. They're like, I am feeling overwhelmed by putting together an SOP, or even like help delegating this and trying to support the admin. I'm like, pull up a Zoom. Every time you teach something, just pull up a Zoom, have it in the background, have AI on there, have it transcribe it for you, put it into ChatGPT and say, take this conversation and turn it into an SOP with a checklist. Like, it's literally like, it does not have to be hard anymore. Like the technology that we have, I mean, like I use ChatGPT every day. I've named it. I'm one of those people who's like, when AI takes over, they're going to remember I said, thank you. Like,
thank you.
Yeah. Like my ChatGPT, like I asked him what he wanted it to be named, and he's like, gave me a bunch of names. One of them was G. So now I call ChatGPT G. Yeah, it's really funny. It's really funny. But like, I mean, I comb through, I upload every transcript I have of everything I've done. And like, and it's got a really great playback of my voice, my style, like the way I do things. And so You can even, I just don't think there's a conversation you should be having that needs to be replicated or duplicated somewhere else or like transformed into a system that shouldn't be just recorded on your AI and then uploaded into your chat GPT. And then you could put that into an SOP in like 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm. And if we're dealing with the objection, I'm not that techie, oh, I don't want to use AI, use it, because that's where the industry is heading right now.
And I'm going to say, pick your hard, and pick your story. If you're not techie, that's fine. That might be true right now, that you're going to choose whether or not that's going to stay true. And if it's hard to learn how to use the technology, it's going to be even harder to exist in a world where everyone else is using it. So pick your hard. Yeah. And I mean, that's how we get to scale. And, we kind of touched on burnout already a little bit. And so I think it would be like good for us to close on knowing your numbers and wrap there today.
Yeah. So, okay. Here's what every admin and ops leader should know in terms of knowing your numbers. So we're going to talk transactions right now. So coming soon, how many listing agreements do you have signed? How many signed agreements do you have? Now we need buyer's agreements. I was always tracking buyer's agreements, by the way, when they expire so that you can go out and check in and nurture that relationship. So coming soon, signed agreements, that includes listing agreements and buyer brokers. How many files are active and how many days on market today? So you can get that information from your MLS. Buyers and listings under contract. So buyers and sellers under contracts. That is pendings. I use the language, how many pendings do we have under contract? Breaking that down is, are you buyer heavy or are you listing heavy? We really want to focus on the listing. So if you are focused more on the buyers, we don't need to get into that, but just know your numbers and how many listings you have, because open houses for your actives, so good for lead generation. Know terminations and track those. How many deals have actually pushed from 1 month to the next? Because if you're looking at your P&L and you see a gap from this month, odds are they either terminated or the deal pushed from 1 month to the next. Month to date and year to date closings you should be tracking. And then lead sources, how many leads are in your database. This is such a good one and it's so simple. I touched on this on the last podcast when we were talking about lead generation. When's the last time your agent logged into their CRM?
Mm-hmm.
Please follow up us. If it's not, they should be logging in every single day. It's their business. It's the lifeblood of it. If they haven't logged in a couple of days, fine. Just remind them, hey, everything okay? If they haven't logged in a week or a month, have that conversation with your agent. The daily call volume and conversations, Mia and I already touched on 100 calls a day. Would you say 4 to 7?
Minimum 20 per week, 35 is the sweet spot. And right now with economic uncertainty, I'm always saying 30-40% upgrade. So I want to see that minimum 20 really getting to be 26 to 30.
Mm-hmm. And it's it's that 10x activity. So really, if you're not where you want to be, make the calls. Go into the database. You don't need to get creative. Do more open houses, door knock. How do you best prospect? It's simple. It's choose your heart, right? Do you want to be broke or do you want to go make some more money, work a little bit harder and go get the deals?
Right.
And then tracking financial projections as well. So
so good. That's the system. It's not just the data. It's really how you're going to drive performance, and you need to know your numbers so that you know your business. I would say that would be my daily download, at least those top 5 that you mentioned, which were the coming soon, signed agreements, actives, buyers, and listings under contract, terminations, let's say top 6, and the month to date, year to date closings. That would be like my bare minimum in my daily download every single morning with my team. If you wanted to go deeper, I would touch on the lead sources, the lead count, agent login activity. A lot of that should be coming from you, the team owner, when you're inspecting the database, the daily call volume and combos, and you can use support from your admin for that as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. So to wrap up, here's the deal. If your admin is struggling, if they're overwhelmed, if they are checked out, check your leadership. How are you showing up every single day? Are you showing up drained? Are you showing up in a negative mood? And are you putting that onto your admin? Because we can feel everything. I don't know. I feel a lot of what people are putting off, and it affects me during the day sometimes. But, and then you say, oh, my agents aren't doing anything. Check your leadership and check how you're showing up every single day. Have you given your admin clarity? Have you given them a rhythm, a system? expectations, and are you inspecting what you expect?
Yeah. And if you're the admin, you have to take ownership. So obviously writing it down, we talked about today, build what does not exist. You should be looking for those gaps. Questions, bring solutions. Everything is figure outable only if you're willing to figure it.
Mic drop. So exactly. So this is how you scale. This is how you build a business that lasts. You don't need a hero. You need a system. So let's go. Let's do it.
Oh, love it. Bye, Lauren.
Bye.